Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Inside the Coverage, the Week 12 edition after the Ravens' fifth straight win, this one over the Jets in Baltimore. Fun one to talk about from the standpoint of some of the things the Jets did to attack our coverages. And even though our offense stunk for the first half, the defense was a rock for most of that time period. We only gave up one touchdown. EA is back with me again. We're going to go over at least 6 or 7 plays. What were your impressions, EA, watching it live through, and then maybe do things change for you, your impression and your evaluation once you get a look at the all 22? They oftentimes do for me.
Yeah, they do. I think watching it or just watching the last several weeks, this team is a team that could win this. I really feel this. They could certainly make the playoffs, win a game, possibly get to the Super Bowl. I really believe that. Or we could see them drop, split with the Bengals, split with the Steelers, and drop one versus the Patriots, and they end up not even in the playoffs. They're puzzling. Another thing I'm thinking about is was the idea that the offense is really playing poorly or not producing, but the defense is getting a lot of work, and maybe they needed that. Maybe they need that back on the field after a 3-and-out instead of the 7-minute drives. To really start figuring things out, and maybe, just maybe, the offense will start to click at some point. Maybe that's health, maybe that's personnel. I don't know.
I think you can sense frustration in some of our guys offensively when they're talking to the media. They're professionals and they don't actually say the words, but specifically Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, a couple of the questions they've been asked lately. I think it's right there under the surface, but they're doing a great job from a professional standpoint of not saying what the rest of us have the freedom to say, which is that, we're curtailed and limited somewhat by the offensive line from a player standpoint. But I actually believe that from a play calling standpoint, we are as well.
There has to be frustration there. There has to be. I mean, Henry and Lamar and even Todd Monken, those are 3 guys who are used to having their way out there, just having a vision of what they want to accomplish and usually getting it done.
Yeah. We didn't suddenly go from the group that we had in 2024 from a production standpoint, yards per play, points per game, points per drop, all of those things.
Yeah.
And Derrick Henry being unbelievable. I think it was 1,800 yards rushing, something like that.
Yeah.
Lamar, 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And so then all 3 of those guys, perfectly said the way you set it up, Monken, Lamar, and Henry having, reduced efficiency, reduced production. Henry's still a rock. I know we had the fumbles earlier in the season. If we don't have the 2 of those fumbles, maybe our record's a little bit different, or we have an opportunity to have one more win. 7-4 would feel a whole lot better than 6-5 for me at this point. As, it really doesn't matter, I guess, ultimately, in that if you win the division, you end up hosting a game in the playoffs anyway, right?
Yeah. And I like that we get a crack at the Patriots early. I do like that.
Yeah, maybe again, you mean.
Right? Yeah, even if we were to drop a game to them, lose the game, but certainly a chance to see how we measure up against them. Because they're leading, right? They're the 1 seed currently, I think. And then Denver, we don't get a look at them. But those are the sort of games of when everything else is the team's up against the wall. Harbaugh's got his back up. Those are sort of games that the Ravens tend to come up big in, when people doubt them. So like I said, it wouldn't surprise me come playoff team if everybody's counting them out and things start to click.
Yeah, that whole Patriots dynamic, I haven't watched a ton of their film, but I mean, it's not going to be fun for people to hear this, but I think everyone should already realize it. You're essentially looking at a very similar dynamic to what they had years ago. You've got a very smart, prepared, tough, defensive-minded head coach who's going to have players in position to succeed. And then Josh McDaniels is the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Of course, Drake May is very different from Tom Brady, don't get me wrong. But they look good from the film that I've seen. I think they still have to play the Bills twice. Is that right?
I don't know.
So I could be wrong there. Maybe
I think they got them once already. They beat them.
Yeah. So I think they're a serious threat. I think they're a serious opponent. How things work out in the playoffs if they face, Mahomes, Lamar, Josh Allen as a trio in some order. It'd be great if we got to play them in the AFC Championship game in their place. I would love that, to go up there. We've got to get there. We're a long way from that. I did think that our defense was solid this week. Of course, facing Tyrod Taylor and the talent that they don't have on offense is a little concerning, given what we will face the rest of the year. At times, like you said in the lead-in, I could certainly see us splitting with the Bengals or splitting with the Steelers or both. And on the flip side, I could see us sweeping those games and going, 4-0 between those two. 4-0 gets us to 10 wins against, regardless of what happens with the Packers and the Patriots. The Packers are the best defense that we're going to face the rest of the way. They may be the second best defense that we faced all year, behind the Houston Texans. Do you want to get us started off here? You're going to have two plays in a row to talk about because they have similar release packages, right?
Yep.
All right, so let me get you fired up. This is a third down to start us off, right?
2nd and 12. So this is
Got it.
This is the 4th drive. I think this might be the touchdown drive, actually. This is the touchdown drive for the Jets. And I guess one of the things I wanted to illustrate that's similar, we're going to look at this, and then we're going to look at the touchdown, the Jets touchdown. We see kind of close or man or slightly press looks here at the line of scrimmage to the field, and then a further off coverage to the bottom of our screen into the boundary. I think the Jets are kind of waiting on this or had seen this before. Another thing is we get this double back blitz here. Both of our linebackers blitzing B gap.
We're in nickel. So we're in our, we would essentially at this point in time, nickel is basically our base defense, but we're not in our 3-4 look. So Hamilton's to the field. And I agree with you. I think they had a nice set of plays to attack our nickel and or our dime. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, and we both said that we like this Mechie character here, guy. Just very, very
quick,
tricky, quick. Yep, really nice little player. He's going to run.
I think a shield, right?
Yeah, he's going to run under this shield, screen, whatever. And you see this, it's 2nd and 12. So clearly Wiggins is being called here to play this far off, but he has no shot.
None.
To get under that or through that.
Can you pull up? Yeah, he's right there. So I'm a big I'm a defensive guy, and I hate all this pick shield stuff. I do, but it's a reality of what the game is. To some degree, you get away with it because we can't make as much contact with you downfield as you're allowed to make with us intentionally. They're beyond 5 yards. They're going to run that guy to Wiggins' inside shoulder here. I think to basically the outside shoulder of the guy guarding him, but the inside shoulder of Wiggins, such that Wiggins has no path. He can't break. You're in the pathway. You're in the lane. So he's got to either go over the top or underneath, and you're screwed either way.
I wonder if they trust them or trust Wiggins. I certainly do. I don't mind him up at the line of scrimmage. I think one of the things about this blitz too, you see Buchanan gets a good get off for sure. But I'd like to see him kind of either run through this block. Seems like he's trying to kind of pinch inside so that Roquan can get the outside.
It's like a loop.
Right here.
We're doing this a lot, man.
Yeah. So he's running right at the back here, where instead of, let's say, directly toward the quarterback. Yeah. Trying to beat him inside. And, he gets half lit up here.
His chest, his guy's pads are below his pads, so he gives up his chest. So, I see what you mean. Like, it's basically like we used to call it knock it back. Like if something shows up here, I don't care which leverage side you're on. And I get it. That's not the right way to coach a lot of times because you need leverage, whether you're keeping your outside arm free or your inside arm free. I understand that, but sometimes players need a little bit of freedom in their brain during the play. And sometimes I actually had a kid explain this to me one year. He's like, I told him during a game, I said, this week, it doesn't matter what leverage side you're on. Just knock it back. It's you and him, and you see where he's lined up. If he steps to you, you're going to run right through his face mask. And
Yeah.
the kid played the best game that he played up to that point. And I'll never forget, he told me at halftime, he said, this is an easy job. He's like, you're not telling me I've got to be, pads below pads on the outside shoulder. You're not telling me I've got to spill it or wrong arm it. I'm not saying that that's what Buchanan should do in every instance, but I get your point here, because our loop is often, with what Roquan's doing, it's often taking so long to get there. Whether it's Roquan, whether it's Simpson, whether it's whoever it is, it's often taking a long time to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder about this, because you're getting pressure off the edge. I wonder if he's able to kind of push through this block where the quarterback at that point, what the quarterback at that point sees, if it's in his face.
Yeah. Well, I wonder sometimes about read on the run stuff. Can you let it run through like a handful of times? I wonder about some of the read on the run stuff. So like, how do I explain this succinctly? If the running back steps to you, go to this shoulder. If the running back, whatever, there's ways to read it, I guess, is what I'm trying to do, so that football people and non-football people can understand it at the same time. And it's so that you can have the ability to quickly adjust your path, and then Roquan adjust off of it. I don't think I got that out verbally the way that it is organized in my brain. Basically, I don't think Buchanan's being very aggressive there. I think we could maybe be a little bit more aggressive with the way he plays it, which is always going to be a reflection of the way it's coached.
Yeah. It's interesting, too, the way Taylor's got his feet set here. Just noticing
canted.
That. Yeah. You want to go ahead to the touchdown?
Yeah. Can you run the all 22 one more time, though? I just want to see we're off coverage. And this is the point that I think you're going to make with the next one, is that we're pressed to the field and off to the boundary, and it's 2nd and 12. I wonder how often that dynamic shows up. Like 11 personnel, 2nd and 12, 2nd and 10. Are we in that alignment, pressed to the field, off to the boundary, like 90% of the time? And is that why some of these plays looked so easy to access for the Jets, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I did get the impression, although that would be interesting to see how often that occurs. Did get the impression the Jets set this up. We'll see that on the touchdown as well.
Yeah.
So they knew what to expect here. You get another similar kind of shield play that enabled them to score. It's also 3rd and 10. So you're almost like coaching in terms of the secondary to that side. A little, I don't want to say scared, but you're just trying not to give up the first down here.
Right. Yeah, you want to roll the touchdown, you said?
Yep.
Same setup, pretty much, right? I mean,
let's see. Go another one. Okay. Yeah, here's the touchdown. Okay, so off man. Where'd it go? Right here, we get kind of off man into the boundary, pressed up to the field, 3rd and 10. It's a little different because they end up sending Marlin right here off the edge, so the coverage doesn't stay sort of in that man scheme. But to the bottom of our screen, you'll see as soon as Mechie cuts in, or really, really soon thereafter, right there, that signal to 12. I keep calling him 12.
Gilman.
Gilman, sorry, yeah, to play the inside route, and of course he bends it back outside, and we're at a loss. And this guy runs the post. The tight end here runs the post, and nobody covers him.
Yeah.
So if you're pressed up even just a little further, you can get hands. You can see the pressure gets there. This comes clean.
If it's not so easy to access for the quarterback, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. This comes clean. If you've got hands on these guys, or if you're able to kind of switch them as they switch instead of that early, you're going to get a hit on the quarterback. He's not going to have anywhere to put the ball.
Man, I wish we had the ability to do what we originally intended, which was to document, every single snap, and then be able to go quickly. Okay, here in the last 3 weeks, we found 20 iterations of 11 personnel, 2nd and long or 3rd and long, with the ball on the left hash, and we're pressed up to the field and off coverage to the boundary on 19 of them. And then we have confirmation as just two random guys here, doing the best we can do. We would have confirmation on, oh yeah, so this teams are able to access this. One little layering of the corner, one of those guys walked up, could interrupt the quarterback's flow long enough such that the rush might actually get there. I think this is a little bit of conjecture. So I'll put my face on screen to do the conjecture part. I wonder if that's the difference between the quality of defense we're playing, which has been very good lately, obviously, versus some of the best defenses in the league, right? The Broncos, the Texans, the Seahawks, and others. I wonder if that's the difference, that we're presenting a little bit more patterns that are easier to access than those guys are.
Yeah, well, it seems like it. We'll have to keep our eyes open for it. Certainly other teams, if the Jets are hitting it, other teams are going to hit it as well. Excuse me. And then this is interesting. This sure does look like a spy here. Instead of any kind of drop.
Simpson.
Yeah. And it's a 3rd and 10. I don't know if Tyrod Taylor is that big of a threat to pick up a first down, but maybe that's what they're thinking there.
So Gilman ends up though. Can you let it run a couple of times? Gilman is on he's on Mechie, and that's the touchdown, right?
Yeah, they switch men. They don't switch assignments or zone man it, if you will.
Yeah.
They switch men. So there's no hope right there. Again, you get that's what makes you think, well, this is on purpose, clearly. They know what they're looking for.
Yes.
Because you get the shield out of the tight end in addition.
And it's the same drive. So our guy's reaction over there, that's Wiggins again, right?
Yep.
So Wiggins is seeing the same.
That's three.
Okay, Awuzie. Okay, so it's not the same player. Okay, so that's interesting. But Awuzie was definitely pointing in first. So that's it. From the end zone, I will tell you what this reminds me of. You called it a spy, and I do see that. This almost reminds me of the glitch blitz, what I refer to as the glitch blitz.
Yeah.
And we oftentimes run that on 4th and 7, 3rd and 8 in critical moments. And across the league, teams have been able to attack the glitch blitz in this area of the field in 2025. I don't mean just against the Ravens. And it might not be – I think Jones is dropping out there, right?
Jones. It's Jones going to the hook. Yep.
Simpson is also stepping out. I agree with you that we've got what looks like a spy. I do.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of the glitch blitz that we've run so much.
I was thinking that too.
Simpson and Jones are both stepping to the interior offensive line, then peeling out, and that causes that trickle-down effect or trickle-out effect, I guess, and Humphrey ends up being a free rusher.
Oh, yeah, he's clean. Yep. Wanted to see that. Just where Tyrod's got his feet set here. I don't know if that's unusual. A little bit
Canted
staggered.
again, right?
Yeah, a little bit staggered, like he's going, like you can see where he's going, maybe with the football.
I mean, hey, that's a real thing. Like a lot of, we've seen that before from some high-level football programs. We had a kid one year notice it. He's like, every time the ball's going right, his feet are this way. Every time his ball's going left, his feet are that way. And it was a quarterback that noticed it. So a quarterback noticed the technique of the other team's quarterback.
Yeah.
He's reverse pivoting. So it didn't matter. They beat us up because they were so good.
There's a ton of pressure in his face. If he has to hold that ball another tick, that's going to be a problem. Kyle rushing off the edge there.
Yeah. I do like what we're doing in our dime look. With Simpson, we're getting him on the field with the athleticism. Nonetheless, it hasn't that a couple of instances. We did miss a tackle there with Simpson. On Tyrod Taylor, to your point about the athleticism, I'm trying to maneuver my screen around a little bit. All right, let's go. All right, sorry, Coach. I was moving stuff around so I could access my screen. Can I add myself? Got two screens. I think it's pretty obvious to anyone watching that I'm in a different location. So if you are watching, I appreciate your patience for tuning in. If you do enjoy it, please let me know. Please let us know in the comment section. If you don't enjoy the style of production, it is drastically different this week, but I recognize some people, might have complaints. In any case, I'm going to move on a little bit here to another dime look. And I think this is the fifth possession. So this is going to be Jones's sack. I think Dre'Mont's been a huge part of what we're getting done here lately. And we're in dime. So Hamilton is down here as the dime backer. Are you picking this up? Hopefully it's picking up.
Yep.
So again, you do have him in this kind of staggered stance, talking about Tyrod Taylor again. And then he is looking down into the originally, I guess he's actually looking to the field. But the running back kind of checking up, kind of a layered or staggered release by those guys. And I think you call this a buzz cover 3, right? So we've got 4 under there, and one of which is Gilman, who's just kind of inserting into the hook area, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then Awuzie getting depth. Him and Wiggins up top and Awuzie there. Both look like zone turns to me. It looks like cover 3, but I guess, some people might call it quarter, half, or whatever. It's 4 under. Taylor looks to the field and doesn't have anything at all. I think that's Marlon out there because we're in our dime look. So Marlon is the nickel kind of covering this route up. And then Hamilton is the dime backer who's kind of sitting in the curl flat. Taylor tries to come back. Dre'Mont, like I said, I like that signing. I would be, if they came out this week and said, hey, we've decided to sign Draymond Jones to a 2-year contract for a nice deal, I'd be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a very active and hostile football player. And I love the interior rushes, against the guard. I don't know if I misheard it during the broadcast. I think they said that this right guard hadn't given up a sack all year.
Huh.
And, this is a pick. So Van Noy is very violent coming downhill on this type of stuff.
Yep.
Picking or screening an interior offensive lineman and then allowing Dre'Mont to loop around. So you wouldn't apply this to the right guard, I guess, right? But he did have a really nice bull rush against that same right guard earlier in the game. And then he also beat him on a B-gap rush move later on as well. So I don't know. Are you in the same place as me for Dre'Mont Jones? I'd like to see him on this team in 2026.
Yeah. I wonder if they're working toward that end. Get it done early if you can.
I did think that Green showed a little bit more strength and power in some of his rushes. And with this one, I wanted to show it from the All-22 one more time. I think you've got evidence of some of these rushes being more coordinated because of the flexibility of Jones. Basically, I hate to say this. You can't do this with Ojabo. You couldn't even do this with Owe. What I mean is the stepping to the guard and then looping all the way around, having I'm not saying Draymond Jones is a 4-5 guy in the 40, all right? But having the burst and the bend at the same time to be able to get there, to be able to actually get there on that switch rush or that, ET stunt. But along with that, you've got Green. To me, this looks like a predetermined, bull rush because we're stunting on the other side. So I think we're basically telling Green, don't get upfield too much and possibly open up a B-gap escape lane for the quarterback. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see his power there for sure. His little jab in.
Yep. It looks like he's threatening speed and then tries to bring the power. Now, he doesn't walk the tackle back into the quarterback, and that's not really my point here. My point is that I think that we've got some evidence that things are predetermined. He ends up with a bull rush, and we go stunt, loop all the way around, and I think those 3 things are all packaged together against, not just Tyrod Taylor, but anyone. I mean, that's standard in the NFL. But earlier in the season, I don't think we had this level of athleticism there. Actually, most of the time, that was Van Noy.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier in the year, that was Van Noy, and the guy setting the pick, was an Owe or someone like that, they're just not as committed as Van Noy is. Van Noy is exceptional, if you ask me, at these pick stunts because he's so violent and committed, while doing so.
Right. That's a nice combination. Van Noy and 41, and the same thing is true of 41 that you said about Van Noy. The commitment, you can see that there. That drive, dropping his shoulder, bending, just full force, hanging on for dear life to his ankle.
Absolutely, I'm a big fan of that acquisition. I would have liked to have seen the offensive line improved. I think everyone knows that. If you're still listening, you're okay with my complaints because I'm not going to stop. Number one, but number two, I've been very consistent over probably the last 14 months. Talking about it. Did you want to talk about the dagger concept on the Jets' second drive?
Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting thing to point out. Just to kind of talk about a little bit, because to me this is the very old school definition of a dagger concept from the wide receivers here, where you get this shallow, the blue line or blue arrow representing shallow that's run.
There we
and
go.
Then you get
You're
a
on screen now.
route.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry about that. You get
No, you're good.
a vertical route, the yellow, and then the outside receiver kind of bending underneath him, running this dig, which ultimately is what comes open. This is 3rd and 6. The Ravens are going to play this, what I think is cover one hole, where they're showing like a too high look, and then they're going to drop this safety, the weak side, the weak side safety, right? I'm going to call this strong because of the back to that side.
Right.
And so the weak safety coming down, playing this hook here, which ultimately is, with this, I tell you what, this actually, if we can get any kind of pressure, is not going to really hurt the Ravens, because it takes so long for this dig to develop here. He's just got too much time. And I think I would like to see the safety kind of hang out here, whether that's the call or not. I presume it is. But by the same token, if there's any kind of pressure to the quarterback, this route probably doesn't develop.
Right. It's at least forcing the quarterback. Okay, if you want to throw that football, then you got the safety dropping down. That's Gilman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And B, you're going to take a shot just after delivering the ball, and we're not necessarily doing that. Even though Dre'Mont's been a big factor. He had a sack and a half, and I think Green is up to 3.5 sacks or maybe 4 now, somewhere in that range. It's a very low number, I know, to be leading the team. Man, it's
7-man
easy.
protection.
Go ahead, EA. No, go ahead.
7-man protection. You get Kyle and Roquan kind of hanging out. Go ahead with what you were going to say.
It's very easy to reflect on what would, now that we've played a much more consistent brand of defense in the last however many weeks, what would it look like, if we had Madubuike around?
Oh gosh, everything. The rotation that we're getting now, everything.
So unfortunate.
This is this wide kind of stunt here with
the loop by Simpson.
The loop. It just takes too long to my mind. To me, it's clear that they want him fully outside here.
Yes.
And not kind of peeking around looking for any kind of gap. I think they want him outside, but it just you're asking Roquan as the back goes over here to protect, to kind of chase and run with the back, and you see this collision. If the back releases, maybe that's a problem for Roquan, but in any case, just too much time, for the quarterback on 3rd down. You had an idea that maybe this is a call for him to chase this. It's Mechie too, right? This guy that's running the shallow. So that could be part of it, because you
take it away.
Yeah, you can see he's coming down to kind of cut off any in-breaking by Mechie as well. If Mechie's running this upfield, that's going to take that away.
Yeah. Related to this, and can you let it run a little bit and see when he delivers the ball? I mean, that's the cool thing about this program that we're using. It might be difficult for people to see. In the bottom right-hand corner, you've got a timestamp, so you can literally, we could literally go, okay, when the ball snapped, track or document the timestamp, And then when the ball's thrown, document the timestamp. So we, just through sheer subtraction, we've got our time to throw.
It's almost 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's a long time, right?
Yeah.
This conversation is something that's happening right now with the Detroit Lions fan base because, they do have 32 sacks on the year, the Lions, okay? I'm bringing this to everyone's attention because the coverage we just showed, the safety Gilman taking away the shallow drag or crosser, and then the later developing dig being what's targeted, that is a very similar coverage to what the Lions play as their base defense, especially on third downs.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the Lions' data, they've got 32 sacks, but their time to pressure is like 30th in the NFL. Maybe the acronym I just used, time to pressure, isn't the right acronym, but there's some data point out there, some measurement that illustrates how often it's time to pressure and then how often it's time to an actual sack. So at the same time they've got 32 sacks, it's taking a long time for those things to occur. And they have a rule for their safeties, I don't know what they call it, whereby they react the same way that Gilman just did, which is first crosser, take it. Make the quarterback go later into his progression, if you will. Yeah. And so to your point about what we're doing here, a couple of things. Maybe with Roquan crossing to take the back and him and Simpson colliding, maybe we've got a more efficient way of doing this. Hey, if the running back releases to Roquan's side, Roquan, you take him. Simpson, you go on ahead with your loop stunt.
Yeah.
If the running back crosses the quarterback's face, Simpson, you're closer to that side. You take him. Roquan, you run the stunt. Just
that makes sense.
One of the things that people do, what do you call it? Tango read or whatever, to be able to maybe get there a little bit quicker, but we're not getting there at all.
Yeah. I'm not crazy over what happens here too. I'm not sure what, Mike's straight up here.
Yeah.
Obviously he's trying to occupy that side of the line, but I think first and foremost, he's got to pull that tackle because the tackle makes easy, light work of Trenton here. Watch this.
Yeah.
Right there. Done.
Over.
So I think Mike, and then what happens if Mike is able to really occupy this tackle, let's say, bringing him inside so that the guard can kind of come outside and maybe pick up Trent.
Force the guard, yeah.
At least you get a one-on-one,
Pernell McPhee and some of our other power rushers in the last, 8-10 years, Jarrett Johnson, so versatile. Those guys were really good at, ripping with that outside arm. In this case, it would have been Mike Green's right arm.
Mm-hmm.
Underneath of the right armpit, the inside armpit of the tackle, and basically committing a hold, hold the guy, but do it in the context of a rip so that to the refs, it looks like an actual attempt at a rip.
Mm-hmm.
Those refs know the game too. So you got to be really good at the way you do it to not get called for a hold. But, we've got no attempt there by Mike Green at all to do any of those things.
I think if this is Kyle, as opposed to Mike gets his feet stopped here, Kyle's going to have more of an intent to get to the quarterback. I don't think Mike has a full intent here. I know that's not his primary, but I don't think he's thinking about getting to the quarterback as much as he's thinking about this pull,
Green?
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. He's not. And this is one of my problems with like pass rush win rate. I can never pronounce those words quickly. That's why I slowed down to say it. It's one of my problems with those things. Like, how do you evaluate this? Is this a loss for Mike Green? No. He's not trying to win. He's trying to occupy. Is it if you're grading from a coaching standpoint, is there a higher level of execution and technique that he could use? Absolutely. So yeah, it's one of my problems with some of those metrics is how often teams like the Ravens or the Lions, in fact, are using stunts and really their edge defender isn't given a chance to possibly win at all. I like that one. I'm gonna I have to move stuff over in order to share my screen. So
okay,
my apologies for that.
Yeah.
6. Are you okay on time here?
Yep.
Okay.
So a couple friends, guys I know that are big into film, have been watching the show, and I often find myself wondering, like, well, how much do people enjoy? How much do people enjoy this because of sometimes the technical nature of?
Yeah,
they love it. they're just more. Give me more of that. So that was very encouraging.
That's great. I mean,
Yeah.
I obviously I recognize that like the production value is really low compared to a lot of other people. I get the chance to go on Bobby and Sarah's show, The Vault. For momentarily, I forgot it. I get the chance to go on their show, and the production value is ridiculous. I'm just embarrassed, completely. But it's a lot of fun. Number one, number two, like I just feel for some of the people who are so hesitant to show film because of how restrictive YouTube in the NFL has been in 2025 with it. I'm glad to get the opportunity to do that. Number one, and number two, it's continue to reflect on what we would like to do. That Eric showed us the way the production value would look drastically different. That I just have been unable to pull off because of laptop considerations. But
Sure.
all right, so moving forward a little bit. Now this focuses on Dre'Mont to actually use this play in a video on him. This is the one that I kind of talked about earlier. He's in a bull rush against the right guard. I think it's Tipman, but again, I think you've got a hard-coded rush style here for the Ravens. I believe this is the 4th and 2 that hits Wiggins in the hip, in the leg down here to the bottom side of it. I believe he's battling against Mechie, and so I think that he's just playing down in distance. Number one, number two, he's saying, okay, if you want to try to go ahead and get deep, get a vertical on me, go right ahead on a 4th and 2, and let's see how it works out. But I think the rush is coordinated between Green to the top side and Jones on a bull rush. I don't think basically, and if I'm not able to expand on my thoughts well, you can feel free to pick up that baton and roll with it if you want. But I don't think that every instance of edge rushers and defensive tackles, or in this case, Draymond Jones, is just those two guys independently making decisions on the rush style that ends up being synchronized and working together. I think that these things are hard-coded. Bull rush here for you, Dre'Mont, and your best outside move, Mike, whatever that might be. Wiggins down at the bottom. We're obviously in, just totally man. I like our group, man. I know it didn't work out with Jair at all, but I like the talent level that we have in coverage and how we're deploying guys. So, Hamilton on the tight end would obviously be a better option when we get in a playoff situation. If we face the Bills with all their tight ends, or Kelsey with the Chiefs, maybe teams go at Gilman a little bit more. But I think we've got smart usage of our personnel here. Hamilton is on the running back.
Yeah.
Gilman on the tight end. Marlon on the slot. And then we've got Wiggins and Awuzie. I like the usage of our personnel, and I like what we have to offer from a coverage standpoint. I'm pretty sure you do as well.
Yeah. With the ball on the left hash, that's going to be a difficult throw for the quarterback. Wiggins being all on his own there, he knows that.
Yep.
He knows that. That's going to be a difficult throw from that side of the field.
I think he thrives. I think this is what he wants to do. I do. I think this is what he wants to do. This is where he wants to be and how he wants to play, and put some film out there that shows, hey, I can be this guy.
Yep.
From a man coverage standpoint. And another thing, to mention on that is just every time you're in press man, it doesn't mean you have to be physical with the guy and play it like a Richard Sherman. He's just opening his hips and going. Sometimes you're actually going to be more physical if the guy takes an inside release versus an outside release. You're just going to turn and go and take that in. I think they take that inside foot and replace the outside foot. We're talking about his right foot replacing the left foot when he turns, such that he can open his hips and go. And I think he knew that Mechie was going to pull this route down.
Yeah.
Was going to stop.
Real smooth corner.
Oh yeah. This is our dime, but I would say this is our regular dime. So Simpson's not on the field. We've got two edge rushers deployed where they should be, outside guys, where they normally would be, one defensive tackle, and instead of Simpson, we've got Dre'Mont. And again, even earlier in the season with Owe, I just feel like this group is superior because of Draymond Jones, not just his rush versatility, but he plays football pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
He plays football, I think, the way that you need to play it. We've got a lot of talent on this team defensively, and I'm not saying that we've never had games where we show up angry to play. This guy, to me, from the time he's put a Ravens helmet on, looks like someone that you're not going to have fun playing against if you're an offensive lineman, if you're a running back. I like his game a lot, and I recognize that other people may not. It's a little surprising to me. With Seattle, I didn't notice this level of athleticism. I don't think I'm being a homer here because I root for Seattle too. When I watch their film, and I root for Detroit obviously as well when I watch their film. But to me, he looks a little sleeker and a little bit more athletic. And I actually said that when we acquired him from Tennessee originally.
That's starting to look like something up there too, isn't it? The four of those guys that they had rushing: Travis, Van Noy, and the two you mentioned, Mike Green.
100%.
That's starting to look like something.
Good group, and who knows what things look like for 2026. I like what Van Noy does from a versatility standpoint. We're not getting as many organic outside rush wins as we did, with him in the past couple of years. Who knows what it'll end up looking like, in the end.
Right.
Did you have one more that you wanted to show? Because I do as well.
Yeah, I think it's just really to illustrate some of the things about in reference to communication and how good Kyle is. Really like watching Kyle Hamilton play, of course.
This is a 12 personnel one, right?
This, yes, double tight. Yep.
I got you on screen right now.
3-by-1. Okay. And this is 1st and 10, Ravens in base. This I would think the same kind of thing we were talking about with the off coverage to the field, or to the boundary. I wonder how often we end up rushing off of play action on 1st and 10 and dropping into these 3 over 3 unders. Which is
you talked about this about a month ago. You talked about that about a month ago about the 3 deep 3 under and possibly being a reaction to flow.
Yep. The Mechie again going across here, and as soon as that happens, we see 12 to the middle of the field. This essentially starts to look like a man to this side with Kyle on 3 on Mechie, but he makes a bail call. So they've changed. I believe they've changed the coverage with that motion, and you see. Marlon's really kind of just hanging out for the tight end here, but
yeah.
But what I really love is Kyle in this coverage is actually, I don't know where the arrow should go, but actually our curl flat player. We've got one hook, and 2 curl flat players. If I said that right.
I understood.
Yeah, so it's in some respects it's a dangerous coverage, because the underneath stuff or the middle field stuff is a little bit more wide open. But what I like with Kyle here against a dangerous receiver is he still has his eyes to the quarterback, but very, very easy, such an easy mover for a guy that was supposed to be unathletic based on his testing.
Right.
Running the seam and kind of delivering him to the safety. And I think some people might think, well, this is, 1st and 10, we give up 6. That's no good. But just to be able to kind of break off that route, come downhill and make the tackle.
There's a lot of guys that if they carried that seam to that depth would not be able, even in the NFL, there's a lot of guys who would not be able to put their foot in the ground, come downhill, and then make the tackle for, like you said, only a 5 or 6 yard gain actually. But and in fact, there's some guys who wouldn't even be able to react quick enough to put their body in position to have the outcome possibility of only a 6 yard gain, meaning they'd be at a deficit in agility. And you perfectly said it, for the way he was billed after the combine that year, that ain't what you see at all out there on the field. It almost looks like, we said this beforehand, or I said this, it almost looks like there's 11 and a half players on the field here, because he can carry that seam a little bit longer than maybe you would teach certain guys to, but he's got great eyes and he sees it, comes downhill. In another scenario, you may say, carry it to depth, and then we'll let Roquan go with the back. And that's what's so complex or so fun trying to talk about NFL coverages. These guys have so many different variations of what they do. In another situation or coverage call scheme, I guess, Roquan goes with the back, and Hamilton kind of carries that vertical a little further and pushes it to Gilman. So that's a different coverage call altogether, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to your point about his eyes, right? He's got the quarterback and he's got the back releasing. I think visually right here, but he's
Absolutely.
12, 10, 12 yards off, and that's a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal to pick up 6 on first down, but it's
Yep.
a much bigger deal to have a player that can't get there and then pick up a first down. And so just to illustrate that communication based on the motion, I thought that was interesting. And I thought Kyle's usually interesting. You know what I mean?
Well, go ahead, EA. Sorry.
He's just usually interesting just to watch.
Yeah, it's fun to watch
him.
It's fun to watch him and try to understand some of the things he's reading. That's what's so great about getting the end zone angle film is you can actually see, some of the film that you get, it's got the end zone behind the defense and end zone in front of the defense. So you can use that to confirm, okay, where's the guy actually looking, and how he reacts. I will tell you this. Can you run it to, where you get him at depth? Are you good on time here still?
Yeah.
Excuse me. It was explained to me by about right there. That's fine. It was explained to me by an old school inside linebacker coach who was a genius and, someone I couldn't hold a candle to as far as football knowledge and ability to teach it and make the game simple for kids, athletes, that whatever your depth of drop is at a second level defender, normally you're only going to be able to make a tackle at half of that distance. So basically the idea was if your drop is at 10, passes that are thrown in front of you, you're not generally going to be able to tackle someone for only a 2-yard gain because it's 2 is 1/5 of 10. So if your drop is 12, the idea would be, at best, you're going to be able to tackle someone for a 6-yard gain. And oftentimes it's going to be more than that. So if you take a 10-yard drop, and your reaction is normal, then oftentimes you're going to give up a 6 or a 7-yard gain underneath. And I rejected that as a young coach. I was like, I'm not satisfied with that. That's not, cool with me. And then over the course of the years, I'd see that kind of manifest itself, but we ended up playing things a little bit better, I think, for the level that we were at. But for Hamilton to be able to drop to, you said 12, right?
Yeah, about 12 yards. Yeah.
And cut it down to 6 at the NFL level. That's pretty cool. I think it's subtle, maybe for some people. The fact that you brought it up kind of triggered my memory of those things, those conversations from 20 years ago at this point. But it was a lot of fun to go through that learning process for myself and then see a guy on the NFL field be able to do that. I think for a lot of guys carrying to 12 yards, that's probably an 8-yard gain.
Yeah. And just
at that level.
Yeah. And you can see him even kind of pulling the film along, you can see his downhill drive or burst right there. And then his ability to kind of break down, tackle in space is really, really great.
You know what? Kyle Hamilton would probably tell you, he would probably say his reaction was slow there. Like, I think he's that good that his expectation is above and beyond what we normally see. I think we've got a special talent there who can already play the game across multiple locations at a very, very high level. And if you install or supplement that, with high level coaching and advantageous positions, then you've got a potential defensive player of the year guy every single year that he's wearing a uniform in Baltimore. We're very blessed to have him. I think it's pretty obvious at this point. He's the Lamar Jackson of our defense.
And this is a decent look for the Jets because you'll see Wiggins on the outside. He sees it too. He sees it a little earlier than where I have it right there. And he has to turn and run, right? We've got a vertical outside. He's not going to be able to come down and play this.
Right.
Let's play the back.
At the top side, right?
Yeah.
The top side.
Yeah. So this is a good little look for the Jets.
Yeah. I got one more, if that's okay.
Yep.
I got to move my screens around to share your plays. I've got to have my monitor set up in one way to share my plays. I've got to have it set up the opposite. So give me 1 second. Now, this all comes from the Draymond Jones. I did a Draymond Jones video on Monday of this week, I believe. So if you guys haven't checked that out, I'll link that up in the description. Sometimes I forget that people actually listen the whole way through, and it's not just you and I talking. So this is 10th possession. I guess this will be the last play that we do. And sometimes I feel like our mug look puts us at a little bit of a disadvantage against certain quarterbacks. And so that could still happen this season. What I do really like about this one is we're doing this and Buchanan is on the field. I feel like sometimes our calls with him on the field versus off the field are a little less creative, a little less pushing the boundaries, if you will. And here we're mugged up and we're dropping to a Tampa 2. So he's going to turn and run. Another one of those, I think what you called them, what's the acronym again? Irregular Tampa 2?
Non-traditional, NTT is what they
okay, all right.
Yeah.
So non-traditional in that it's a corner here who's the deep halves player, in my opinion. Buchanan turning and running, in between the hashes. So you've got a corner at the downside, Awuzie, and a safety here, Starks, as the deep half players, in my opinion. And so we're inverted down here. Corner is the, quote, safety, deep halves. Safety is the corner in the flats, Gilman. Up here, we're not inverted, right? Typically, a corner is the flat player, and then the safety is the deep halves player. Hopefully, I explained that in a way that makes sense. This is the sack by Dre'Mont against the right guard. Independent of an actual stunt, his ability to turn the corner, I think, is important for this defense. People call it bend or whatever they want to call it. We would always refer to it as turn the corner while there is still contact. And you see the way that works out here, number one. Number two, you see Buchanan running with the declared pass strength. So he's running underneath of this. I actually really like that he's not squeezing a route underneath until that route shows itself between the hashes. Sometimes these guys, especially young kids, they'll chase the vertical in a Tampa 2. He's just running underneath of it. In fact, the Seahawks ran a Tampa 2 against the Titans, and ironically, this week it was James Prochet who caught the ball over the middle, and the Seahawks, Mike linebacker chasing it, kind of actually chased or hedged out too far to go after it. I really like this play because we're running this non-traditional Tampa 2, but we're doing it with Buchanan on the field in a way that we haven't shown a ton of while he's on the field. Hopefully I said that, in a way that operates well in everybody else's mind as it did, before I formed the sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Give the end zone angle so you can see Dre'Mont's win. So the quarterback having to process all of those things. It's actually not a 4th and 2. It's a 3rd down. My apologies for that. I was way off there. I don't know why I said that. But here's the stunt by Van Noy all the way to the inside. Again, that loop, I think, has taken a long time to function. But we're bringing Marlon off the edge again. The Jets pick it up better than they did the other one that you showed. But the difference is Dre'Mont turns that corner violently. He's just got such great strength in his hips and his legs. He doesn't get moved off his spot. To compare him and Ojabo or even Owe it's night and day difference. These pushes on those guys' hips would oftentimes move them out of there and prevent them from getting to the quarterback. Dre'Mont can kind of continue on his path while he's being pushed. He's just got great strength. I'm a basketball guy. I know you are too. It reminds me of guys who, when they get hand checked, they get really moved out of there. And some guys get hand checked and it doesn't bother them at all. He seems to be one of those guys.
He's a problem. You can see who's getting the pressure. Is that the guy
Brian.
that just went IR'd?
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah. But you can see he's a problem because the right guard gets hands into his chest right away.
Yep.
I mean,
he gets
right
interrupted.
away.
Yeah. He still plays through it.
Yeah.
That's I guess some would say that's a loss initially, that he turns into a win.
Yeah. Get your hands off me. He's just not going to stop.
He's a violent football player who always seems to be playing like at a 7-degree decline. And I have to admit, like, I didn't like this guy at all the first two games I saw him on the field. He's played well the last 2 or 3 weeks. I think it started in Miami, or maybe it was after the Miami game. Talking about Brian.
Is he done? They IR'd him for the year?
I'm not sure if it's for the year, but he's definitely on IR at this point. Kind of stinks, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you guys stuck around, for this entire edition of Inside the Coverage, we really appreciate it. Number one. Number two, it's pretty obvious at this point that it was a different style or format or flow of production. Myself and my family are on vacation, visiting family for the holidays. So if you did stick around, I really, really appreciate that. If you could drop a like and or a comment, on the video, that obviously helps this get pushed out to larger audiences. If you have any suggestions for how to improve the show in the future or in each week, feel free to let us know in the comment section as well. EA had to drop out because we took an extended time of trying to produce this and go through all the plays that we try to do. I wish we could go through 20 plays every week, but time constraints are always, first and foremost for us. So in any case, I appreciate you guys' time. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this film study / commentary on the Ravens win over the Jets, specifically our coverages and the blitz structures that Zach Orr tried to use, if you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this type of discussion, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.